Welcome to the Mythic Plus Dungeon Guide for Nexus Point Xenas. We will cover all the mechanics of the trash mobs and all of the bosses that you need to be aware of. We will be covering all of the dungeons for Midnight Season 1 here on the channel, so be sure to subscribe and stay tuned for those upcoming videos. Thank you. The playlist will be in the description. Now, Nexus Point Xenas is a 3-boss dungeon, where we need to clear both the left and the right sides, collecting parts of the core access console so that we can repair it, and then head straight down the ramp to the final boss, Lothraxion. Groups usually take the left side first, so let's take a look at the trash mobs. You'll see the Shadow Guard defenders. Their melee attacks apply Null Sunder, which reduces armor and applies an absorb shield to their target, so tanks, be aware of that one. You've got the Corewright Arcanists. Now these cast Arcane Zap, which is a bolt that is kickable, and they will also channel Arcane Explosion for group AoE damage that can be stopped. Hollow Soul Scroungers will have Leech Veil, so at 45% health they will latch onto an ally and leech from them, so this just needs to be damaged through. You've also then got Lingering Image. Now these are basically the ones that look like Lothraxion. These can be quite dangerous. They cast Searing Rend, which is a double claw swipe that leaves claw marks on the floor, so do move out of these because they will provide damage. You've also got Luciferan Flare, a frontal cone of light that needs to be dodged or it will disorient you. Blistering Smite will also be cast by these guys on a target, doing holy damage over time. Heading down the left corridor, we have the Flux Engineers and the Nexus Adepts. Flux Engineers have the big mana batteries on their backs, which they will drop when they die. They then need to be killed before they explode. They also cast Suppression Field on a target. This reduces their movement speed by 50%. When this is on you, moving will damage allies within 6 yards of you, so do try and stay still. Another dangerous mob are the Circuit Seers. These are the floating ones. These have erratic energy, so nearby devices surge and splash pools everywhere when these guys are around, and being hit by this will stun you. They also have Arcing Mana, which is basically going to do lots of group AoE damage whenever it's nearby, so you will want to kill this guy as quick as possible before that group damage becomes unmanageable. Now, as a bit of a dangerous move, you can stand on these Core Spark conduits when they are empowered like this, so this will cause stacking damage to you, but it will also give you a stacking haste buff while you remain stood on it. You can get this up to 10 stacks, which will give you 50% haste. Now standing on it will drain the conduit, but it simply just fades away when it dies. So if you want to pump for a bit, get on this, but maybe let your healer know first. Clear through this corridor and you make your way to the first boss. Boss number 1 is Chief Corewright Kasreth. Now, this seems like a big boss room, but it soon gets very tight for space. The first thing that you may notice is the Layrite arrays, these lines that will cross the battlefield randomly, linking these conduits on the edge together. Now, standing in these lines reduces your movement speed by 20% for 8 seconds, which also stacks and does lots of damage to you, so don't stand in the lines. However, you can break these lines if you get targeted by a reflux charge. It does damage to you every 1 second, however, if you stand in a Layrite array line, you can break it. Now the best thing you can do here is stand at the intersection of 2 or more lines, and you can break multiple lines at once, freeing up much more space for your group. Arcane Zap is an ability cast on a random person, which can be kicked. The most dangerous moment in this fight is when the boss casts Core Spark Detonation. When he gets to full energy, he will overcharge a spark and launch it at a random place in the room. Do move out of this, but beware that when it lands, it will knock everybody back. So try to position so that you don't get blasted through the lines, or into the other puddles on the floor. After this goes off, the group also has the Spark Burn debuff on them, which deals damage and applies a healing absorb shield. So this fight is really about movement management, breaking the lines crossing the room, and preparing for the knockback from Core Spark Detonation. Do your best to break as many lines as possible when you get targeted by reflux charge, and good luck with the boss. When the boss is dead, make sure to head up these stairs behind him and click the conduit there. This will take you back to the start of the dungeon. Then you want to go down to the right of the stairs and we'll see some different trash mobs in this next section. We've got the cursed void callers. When these die, they will hit your group with shadow damage and apply creeping void on you all, which increases shadow damage you take by 10% for 10 seconds, which is dispellable, it's magic debuff. You've also got the reformed voidling. When these guys die, they will scatter into smudges. Now the smudges are going to go and seek the nascent dread flails that are dotted around the room, so you do need to kill them before they get there, or do your best to CC them and just DPS them down. You will notice the nascent dreadflail mobs just stood ominously at the sides of the room. Just make sure that none of them absorb these smudges and you'll be fine. You can either fight the mobs away from them to give you more time to kill the mobs travelling towards it, or just make sure to be really good at slowing and CCing them. You'll see the Grand Nullifier as well. Now these also break into smudges when they die, so again kill those. They also cast Nullify. This is where a shadow circle will form on the floor that you need to quickly move out from, or it will fear anybody inside it when the cast goes off. Duskfright Herald will cast Dark Beckoning, which pulses shadow damage onto your group. Lines will go out from them, sending shadow mobs outwards, so just make sure that you dodge where these lines are going to walk. And they also cast Entropic Leech on a player, which does leech health, and the person will need some spot healing when that's on them. You've got the Null Sentinel as well. These will cast Nullwork Blast, which is a channel blast on one person that leaves a dot as well. Now this can just be aimed away from the group. They will also cast Dread Bellow, which is a channeled group AoE that knocks everybody back when it goes off. Now just before the boss you'll also see some Dread Flails. These can cast Void Lash, which increases their own haste by 100%. So melee attacks will strike in a frontal cone, dealing shadow damage to anyone in that. So definitely tanks, try and aim this away from your group and you can just then move out of the way when this is going on. Once you reach the boss room, you'll clear some waves of trash on her platform and then eventually the boss will come down. There is no break between these 3 waves of enemies, but you can have a break for mana if needed before the boss fight starts. Boss number 2 is Corewarden Nyssara. There are 2 key things to be aware of on this fight. Light Scar Flare. So occasionally Lothraxion will strike at the boss. He will stun the boss for 18 seconds. Do not get caught in this initial attack blast, as it does deal big damage and it will disorient you. But once it's happened, you do want to stand in this Wound's Flare, as this will increase your damage done to the boss by 300%, and it increases your healing done by 30%. You will take damage while you stand in this area though, and you'll see it's not a circular zone or anything like that, it's the big yellow line that you want to stand in after Lothraxion has left. Let him come down and do his attack and then move into this line. Adds will join the fight that do need to be killed, and these are adds that we have already seen before on the way to the boss, so deal with them in the similar way, avoiding the frontal cone attack from the Dreadflail, as well as the fixating whirlwind-like ability, and also make sure to interrupt the Nullifier's Nullify ability to save on some damage going out, and make sure to get out of the Duskfright circle that will fear you if you don't. Tanks, look out for Umbral Lash from the boss, where she will hit you with a flurry of attacks, leaving Void Gash on the final one, which will knock you back and make you take 50% more damage for 10 seconds. Nyssara will also cast Eclipsing Step, striking randomly at your party, leaving a dot on them that damages everybody within 14 yards of you for the next 8 seconds. You will get a big purple circle around you when this is happening, so do be careful not to overlap your party members. There is lots of group damage here. Do your best to kill the adds as soon as you can, as when the boss recovers from the stun, she will cast Devour the Unworthy, which means she will consume any of the surviving adds and heal herself, as well as doing big group damage to you all. So when the adds are up, the adds are priority. Once the boss is down, head up the ramps either side and click the second conduit to be taken back to the start of the dungeon once again. Now it's time to go and deal with the third boss, Lothraxion. When you land, do click on the core access console to create a bridge. You do need to channel this to form the bridge, so ideally do this as a group so it's a bit faster. Head down and clear the trash leading to the boss. We do have some familiar trash mobs, but also we now have these flare bats. The flare bats will burst on death, dealing holy damage to the group. You will also get these radiant swarms which appear as minor mobs, and these will fixate on players. If you get hit by the radiant swarm, it will give you a debuff called Burning Radiance, doing holy damage over time. You've also got light rorts. These cast holy bolt on random players that can be kicked. Killing the 2 lingering images that are channeling into the boss will make him attackable. So time for boss 3, Lothraxion. Now, take note of the fact that Lothraxion does not have any horns. Despite his Dreadlord model, his head is nice and bald. It's free of horns, and this is very relevant for one mechanic during this fight. When Lothraxion gets to 100 energy, he will cast Divine Guile. During this phase, you will all take AoE damage every 2 seconds, which ramps up over time, and you need to find the real Lothraxion and interrupt him. Each time this phase happens, you will take 20% more holy damage for 1 minute. Now do be careful to not touch the other fractured images, as doing this will damage you, knock you back, and leave behind a radiant scar on the floor, damaging anybody else who touches it. It can get quite messy here, so it does help if you move as a group, so that you can kind of bait the images to spawn in a certain point, and also bait the lines when they move. The images can cast Flicker, where they will move to a new location and damage anyone in the path when they move. So do try to get this phase done as quickly as possible. Find the real Lothraxion, the one without horns, when he casts Divine Guile, and then you'll be back into the normal phase. When Lothraxion isn't hiding amongst these images, he'll be getting the tank with Searing Rend, which is a similar ability to what the images have been doing that we saw earlier, the double claw attack that leaves marks on the ground, for some heavy tank damage. There is also Brilliant Dispersion to be aware of, where several players will get big circles around them, dealing holy damage when they expire, and then these are the circles on the floor that will split and what spawns the fractured images. So it's actually quite a simple fight, but it does get a bit hectic with all the images in the room, especially when they all start moving around and try and zoom through the group. Once he's dead, you have conquered Nexus Point Xenas. Now here is a TLDR recap of the boss mechanics to be aware of. If you found the guide helpful, please do leave a like and be sure to subscribe to the channel for all the upcoming dungeon guides and other content for Midnight. If you'd like to support me directly, you can become a member of the channel here on YouTube if you wish, or on Patreon. The links are in the description below, as well as links to all the other dungeon guides. Thank you very much for watching, and good luck in your dungeon runs. I've been the Drowsy Dragon, and I'll catch you next time. Cheers.